Hi, this is Andy Dolich, Ohio University Sports Administration 71, not 1871, but 1971. None of you were born then. It was when there was only one sports management program in the country, next to the Harvard on the Hocking, and now there's, 327 programs. And over the last 38 years, I've seen a constant, and the constant is selling. If you don't sell, you really have a difficult time developing a career. A lot of you are going to go in many different directions when you get out of the program, but if you prove to people that you can sell, you can find your place. And Jim Kaler asked me to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is, so you think you can sell in the big leagues. And that's really the key. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking to you. I got some great advice when I first started talking to groups, and that is, remember the rule of the 5 Bs. And hopefully Jim Kaler and others there at Ohio University have taught you the rule of the 5 Bs. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's be brief, brother, be brief, because that is important when you start going into business. And let me ask you a question. I mean, what is our business? What do you think the business of sports is all about? Okay, now you're all talking amongst yourself. To me, the business of sports is selling tickets. There's a lot of complexity in the world today. I mean, we're taken with new media, we're Twittering, we're twackling, we're LinkedIn, we're Facebooked. But it all comes down to the fact that we need to sell what I'd call LPCs, and we'll get back to LPCs in a second because I'm going to quiz you on it. But if we look at the major 4 sports leagues, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the National Hockey League, and then throw in Division I, NCAA, football, and basketball, how many games do you think there were last year? Now, I know everybody in the class has probably researched this, but my notes tell me that in last season there were 11,268 events in all of those sports, not including playoffs. And I knew, because you're from Ohio University, that you'd know the answer to that. And those 11,268 events drew about 230 million people. And so what is the factor that brought all of these people together? It's LPC. And for those of you who don't know what LPC is, little pieces of cardboard. Now, this is a big piece of cardboard, which is a blow-up of one of our tickets. And this is how you develop a career, in my view, in the world of professional sports. Because if you look at all the changes in the last 100 years in pro sports, it still comes down to this. We might have the biggest TV set on the face of the globe in Dallas, but unless Dallas sells these, they're not going to be able to make it work for their $1.6 billion stadium. And nobody really thinks that selling LPCs is very glamorous, because it isn't very glamorous. But I take you back to my first job out of the Ohio University program. I went to work for the Philadelphia 76ers. The unique part of the 76ers is in 1972-73, they had the worst record in the history of the NBA. They won 9 out of 82 games. That's right, they won 9 out of 82 games. How'd you like to sell that product? But to me, that was the greatest break I ever had, because the ticket manager, there was no ticket office, there was no sales and service, there was no marketing, there was no promotion, there was a ticket office. And the GM at that time, a guy named Dolich, he kind of looked into the future and said, I need to hire some fairly unintelligent people from Ohio University to come to Philadelphia and try to sell season tickets for a team that was the worst in NBA history and a record that may never be broken. And so the training program that the 76ers had was real simple. Here's a street map of downtown Philadelphia and South Jersey, go sell season tickets. Now, we're dealing with a lot more sophistication. If you go back to the number that I gave you before, the 11,200 some odd, none of those teams, none of those leagues, none of those events are really playing to 100% capacity. And the quickest way that you can distinguish yourself in working for any organization is to be able to sell. And I am absolutely, some of you have heard me speak before, I'm your poster child. There's no way that I would have gotten to this position and had a fun-filled 38-year career unless I had the basis of knowing how to sell. And selling is really, when you're successful, it's something that you had in yourself that you had control over. When you're hearing 100 no's a day, as you might if a team only wins 9 out of 82 games, then it's somebody else's problem and you have to bounce back. So the bold team owner, if I was a team owner, everybody in my organization would have the same business card, and it would say ticket sales. Because when you think about it, all the stuff that goes into making a team, people are coming to see the greatest athletes in the world do their thing on the ice, on a football field, baseball stadium, doesn't matter. But everybody's out there trying to sell, making sure that no seat is empty. And all these levels of sophistication that pro sports franchises, college sports organizations, major events, tournaments, none of that matters unless you have a full house.